Okay, so there's no other way to say this, but Attack of the Clones, I think the whole situation would have been solved with two things, and I'm just gonna hold them up and you do the math. Anakin, you take 15 minutes, buddy, and you'll be good. No dark side, okay? But anyway, let's start the show. Let's bring in my co-host. We have arrogant Skywalker. Sir, how are you doing?
You stupid.
Is it just me? He seemed a bit stressed. He seemed a bit stressed. I don't know if that was the issue or.
Oh man, hence the name. Yes,
Exactly.
Yes.
All the force was in one area in Anakin. This entire movie, going into the third one, we'll get to that next week when we get to it.
I mean, hey, the pennies dropped for that one. So
Listen, let me bring in the other one. In this one, he's the Supreme Chancellor, but you know him as the executive consultant. How are you doing?
You know, it's not even recasted a portion of this episode yet, and we're already with the tomfoolery, and I can't bring dignity already. All right.
You disagree with my assessment about Anakin?
I'm not going to agree or disagree with your statement. I will plead the fifth, okay. But I'm just saying, how are we only 1 minute and 45 seconds into the episode, and you already with the tomfoolery?
I have to give the people what they want. I have to.
Touche.
Now listen. Let me read the synopsis. This is Attack of the Clones. I've been slacking in the synopsis. I'm supposed to write this out. I'm supposed to send it to the executive consultant so that we can have this for the rebroadcast. Charmaine in here early. This is why she has the crown. Huh? Christopher Harris, where are you? You're slacking. Anyway, let me read the synopsis. This is episode 2, Attack of the Clones, the review we're doing tonight. Set 10 years after the events of the Phantom Menace, the Galactic Republic is in no better shape. As more and more star systems move to separate, the need of a standing army grows for the Republic. Anakin, no longer a child, is tasked with guarding the former queen, now Senator Padme Amidala, while his master teacher Obi-Wan Kenobi seeks to unravel the mystery of the cloners of Kamino and how they may be involved in the attempt on the young senator's life. Christopher Harris coming in here saying hello. And that essentially is the synopsis for Attack of the Clones. Who would like to go first? What do you think? Now we know Vic is coming into this fresh. Chris and I have seen it. Vic, if you would like to take the floor, it is yours.
Well, clearly, one thing about this was like the story of Anakin, the late teenager, early 20s guy, and he clearly was thinking about this girl since he was a little boy. You know, all of a sudden, he gets a chance to woo her. And I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, like the way that he did it was pretty smooth. I really appreciated how bold he was when he came to like the first kiss, and how like he kind of set it up to make her feel like she did it, but he was the one making all of the moves. And he and mind you, it was a situation, especially for her character, is probably where she doesn't necessarily get somebody that is going to just be so forward. And that was him. That's exactly who he was the entire time. But then he was just that way with everything, just defiant in many ways. And like that, and throughout the entire movie, it just made me think about what Yoda said in the first movie. You know, it kind of just made you think back to like, you know, and then there were little hints that here and there were like, and mind you, look, it's funny because I pulled out a quote. Wait, where is it? Let me say it now. I thought this was hilarious. You know, Obi-Wan saying to Anakin, "Why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me?" And then I'm just like, oh, okay. Just wait. You know what I mean? So now, and I thought that was cool because for the first time now, like I get the reference and now I'm part of the thing. And now that made me laugh because I know what's going to happen later on. You know what I mean? So like that I was happy about. But then the other thing that I was happy about is that there's so many layers to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Wow. And you getting to see kind of like the original story between Jabba Fett and Boba Fett and all of that, and like
Jango and Boba.
It's Jango. Excuse me.
I thought you were talking about a hut for a second. I didn't know where you were going.
Not only did he say Jabba as in Hutt, he said Jabba Fat. So it just sounded extra large. You know what I'm saying? So if we were doing a recasted, hint, hint.
No, but like, you know, you got to see a little bit more and to see like that they are the origins of the clones and all that. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So that made me wonder, should I watch the Clone Wars next? Or, you know, so I'll ask you guys that question later. But I was very entertained, very, very entertained. I really liked it, to be seeing it with fresh eyes. And I was definitely something I will watch again. And lastly, may the 4th be with you, my friends.
Now, executive consultant, do you want to go in there? Or do you want me to jump in here with
First of all, I don't celebrate the 4th. May the 4th. I celebrate.
See, how are you not going to celebrate May the 4th when it's a Star Wars movie?
Because I'm a Trekkie. That's why I'm a Trekkie.
Yo, shoot fly. Can't you be a Star Wars guy for a day? Because
his holiday is in April.
Yep. April 5th, 2063. You seem lost, Anakin Skywalker, but I guarantee Star Trek is a movie franchise we're going to be reviewing. Probably won't be this year, but we will be reviewing that movie franchise.
But wait, aren't you supposed to do the show first?
The show? What do you mean?
Isn't that a show that started like in the 30s?
First of all, you're not going to do that. All right, it started in 1966. Why are you so disrespectful? I don't
know. Listen, all I know is seeing people in black and white. You know what I mean? With the little thing.
What televisions were out in the 1930s?
You know what? You're right. That's true.
You're trying to be funny. Once again, right. 7 minutes into this movie, ladies and gentlemen, we're just so stuck with all this tomfoolery. Hey, I'm a Trekkie. My heart goes to Star Trek. However, doesn't to negate the fact that I am a Star Wars fan. I am still a Star Wars fan.
May the 4th be with you. Just celebrate things because we're doing them. Okay.
I'm celebrating the fact that in 11 days is the birthday of the executive consultant. That's what I'm celebrating. Now, that being said, for the longest time, I was not a particular fan of this movie, and this is the reason why. It wasn't that good. Okay? Now, going back and watching it again, I actually appreciate it and I like it more to the point where my thumbs down might be persuaded to go to a thumbs up. I don't know. We will see that later. But however, I think the reasons why I did not like this particular movie is, one, it was a little bit overrated. But then I understood why, because did you see The Phantom Menace before it? This movie compared to The Phantom Menace is night and day, in my opinion. They realized some of the mistakes they did. Jar Jar barely spoke. And when he did speak, he effed up the entire Republic, right? That means that they learned that mistake. Another problem I had was with Anakin Skywalker. Not just because of his acting, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm pretty sure that bothered everybody else, but because this man was a brat. But it made sense he was a brat because did you see him in Phantom Menace? He needs to grow up to be a brat. But I'm trying to figure out why doesn't Obi-Wan Kenobi, he made some comments, but why doesn't he understand this man might be a little bit dangerous? He's impulsive. He has attitude problems. He's extremely arrogant. Dark side, dark side, dark side. How much force do you need to foresee this guy may not be the proper chosen one? There is no other. I don't understand what's going on with that. Another reason why I might have been a little bit down on this movie is because I actually saw this on my birthday. It's a birthday present, but I saw it as a double header. It was the first time I saw 2 movies in one day. And the first movie I saw was the original Spider-Man, which up to that time was one of my today is one of my absolute favorite movies. And it was a game changer in the movie industry as far as I'm concerned, the original Spider-Man. And
for those who don't know what he's talking about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, not the Andrew Garfield, not the MCU ones, but the Sam Raimi 2002. Starring
Tobey Maguire. Understand that you have to realize what time period we were in. When Spider-Man came out, it was a blockbuster juggernaut. Mm-hmm. And it was such a fantastic movie. Star Wars was not going to live up to it. But us watching it back and watching it again, there were a lot of good scenes. There's a lot of good things in this movie. I definitely like the last fight scene when Mace came out. Yeah, shows you what a badass he is and just chopping people's, beheading people. And I thought that was pretty cool. Count Dooku played his role very, very, very well. in this movie. Emperor is, I mean, he's just the Emperor. No matter what he does, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot to really, really like in this movie. Recast it later is going to be a bit hard because I think everybody did a pretty good job outside of a few things. But it was a great movie. It kept the action going. It just, the acting of Anakin Skywalker really bothers me in this movie. Really bothers me in this movie. So I just all credit due to that. The bounty hunter scene was actually pretty good as well. Just a little bit uncomfortable to watch Yoda commanding clones. Stormtroopers, but
how long does it take Yoda to say, "Hey, shoot over there"? Because can you imagine if it's an emergency and he's doing these riddle responses?
Perimeter create. By that time, they'll be dead, sir. But.
Exactly. I'm like, Yoda, come on. All right, so I agree with both Chris and Vic in this sense. This was never one of my favorites. It's not something that I go back to, and I'm so glad that whoever put that up on the screen, if they could just put that up back there again. Somebody here that has authority to put this on the screen or type this up rather said that Anakin is the best Jedi ever. Now, clearly they've never seen Star Wars because Anakin was never a Jedi. That's 101. And if he was a Jedi, he would not be the best Jedi because, as Chris just said and illustrated, he had no self-control. And the Jedi are always about control. Control. You must learn control. We said this in Empire Strikes Back, right? Whereas the Sith give in to their passions. More on that in the next movie as a little tease for that. But this was never one of my favorite films in the Star Wars canon. Why? Because as smooth as Anakin was with this woman who never got hit on by anybody, and I'm saying it funny wise, but Vic, it makes a valid point. That's why it worked, because she has to be about 25, 26 in this, and he has to be around 18, 19, right? And I'm not calling Superman Returns. I'm not saying that, right? There's no Jedi mind tricks going on. But what I'm saying is, since nobody's coming at her, she's like, we're on Naboo. What else am I gonna do? You know what I mean? And he's giving me attention. Everybody else is calling me Your Highness and all of this, right? And he's just treating me like a woman, right? I found him so grating because he's arrogant without merit, right? Obi-Wan says in when they're in the speeder chase chasing down the bounty hunter, if you spent more time practicing your saber skills, you could rival Master Yoda. He has the potential, again, to go back to that comment that was put on there, to be the greatest Jedi or to be the best Jedi, but he's nowhere near it. Again, we'll come back to that later in episode 3. Why? And it always bugs me, and this is the same thing, not to digress too far, but the same thing with Harry Potter. Because if you look at it, and especially if you read the books, they always talk about how powerful Harry is because of what he is given by Voldemort, right? Without spoiling that one too much. But the one who works the hardest and should be the best, and arguably is Hermione Granger, because she's given a gift and she works on it. And if you've been following how I look at these things and view people, I respect that the most. I'll come back to that point later, right? But some of the things, and I'm gonna sound like Vic now. I love the aerial shot in the opening, after the opening scroll, of when the senator's ship is coming into Coruscant, and the camera does a 360 angle. Again, we couldn't have done that before, right? And it's so seamless, it's so fluid, obviously, and it's CGI, obviously, because there's no Coruscant and no spaceships like that. But it's so beautifully done. It's so beautifully rendered. When they're chasing the bounty hunter through the nighttime sky of Coruscant, that's done beautifully. You believe that it's a bustling metropolis, something that we don't even have. When Obi-Wan goes to Kamino, the water planet, right? And you see those aliens, the Kaminoans, they look so alien, no pun intended, and yet familiar, right? As something that we on Earth would think, well, I could see an alien looking like that more than something else, right? More than a Jabba slug or something like that, right? And they're elegant in their own way. I loved when you meet Jango Fett, as Vic brought up, right? And then you realize that that's Boba Fett. And then on the Battle of Geonosis, when we realize why he hates Jedi so much in canon lore, is because Mace Windu came in there and Jango didn't listen. He gave him a chance, and then he took his head. To quote another Tarantino movie, he took his effing head. Okay, I love the fact that you see how skilled Mace Windu is with the saber, that he's barely even trying. He's barely even trying. And he ends the situation like it was nothing, like a boss. Okay. Samuel L. Jackson for the win. Love that scene. I love that we get to see Yoda actually fight, right? Because we've been waiting to see this. We couldn't actually see this before because it was a puppet and they couldn't really render it, whatever like that. But his fighting style makes sense for his whatever his species is supposed to be and for his height. I love that. I love that Count Dooku was elegant, you know. What is it? Christopher Lee, the way he plays it like a count, like somebody of means, and that's what his character is supposed to be. I love that how he tries to tempt Obi-Wan to the dark side, right? And then when he doesn't go for it, he says, well, securing your release is going to be harder than expected. It may take a little bit longer than I expected, right? I love that he is like a regal person, like a count would be, right? And when he goes in there and Obi-Wan says to Anakin in the end, he says, I can't take Dooku alone, right? Because Anakin wants to go back for Padme, who fell in the sand. And he says, I need your help. What would she do? She would do her duty, right? I need you to do yours. Help me out. He says that Anakin is like, all right. Then Obi-Wan says, take your time. He says, no, I'm taking him now, and gets blasted, right? And then you see Obi-Wan fight, and you see that Obi-Wan is not as good on the level of a saber fighter as Count Dooku, right? And he gets taken down. Then you see Anakin that he's using his force because he's so strong in the force. He can use the 2 lightsabers, right? We've never seen that before. I appreciate showing us something new, but also in canon, in universe. More on that when we get to some other episodes down the line, right? But then you see that he's still not equal to the fighting skill of Count Dooku, and in comes Yoda, going back to tie that all in. So there's a lot that I like about that, about this movie, but overall, and maybe it's unfair, the portion with Anakin is just so grating on my nerves, you know, and it's gonna sound like I'm contradicting myself when I get to the next episode, but the next one makes more sense, and I'll get into that when we do that episode for Revenge of the Sith. But in this one, as a teen, let me just say this: I understand what Chris is talking about Hayden Christensen's acting in this, but I wonder if that was the direction, because there's scenes when Natalie Portman, who, if we want to talk about acting, everything according to her peers, she won an Oscar, right? She seems like she's afraid to act. She's like, what should I do? Oh no, the ship was just destroyed. Yeah, I'm like, you're not a droid, you're human. Act it out, Natalie. But maybe that's the direction, right? But in this one, it was just arrogant without merit. There are certain scenes I like his character in. I love him when the speeder chase. I love him when he tracks down the bounty hunter in the club and he's like Jedi business. I love that he talks about how, you know, when he says, I've thought about you all this time, Padme, and he's tripping over his weight. He sounds like a teenager. He sounds like somebody who has no experience. That's what he would do. But there are other moments in this when he's just so grating and moody, it takes me out because I'm not that type of person. But still, between that and Phantom Menace, I will put this above Phantom Menace personally. Not just because of blackface Jar Jar Binks, right? But because of other factors, and there's more of a story, and we're not, as Chris said, spending 2/3 of the movie racing through the sand. Okay? But there's a lot going on with different planets, and the story is actually moving. It's not just a setup piece. So I'm less hard on it than I was when I originally saw it, but it's not something I run back to. I'll scrub forward to Geonosis, that battle, and so on and so forth. But more on that in my recast it. Now here comes C early. Of course, it's not talking about any of the guys, but you know, C is very hard on the women. Natalie hasn't been good at acting since The Professional. Well, she won for Black Swan as an adult woman. And what do you know about The Professional? That movie came out in the 90s, Chrissy, and you're always talking about these 21st century movies. So shame on you for not keeping that same energy. And Matt says, hello, guys. And we say hello back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our opinions when it comes to Star Wars Attack of the Clones on this 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. There, I did it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break, find out what we're reviewing on Thursday as well as next Tuesday, and then we're going to come back and give you our final thoughts and final grades. Stay with us watching Unpopular Review.
For Professor Sherman Klump, being the big man on campus was no laughing matter. But now, thanks to the miracle of science, He's about to make a change for the thinner.
Anything I can get for you? Juice, coffee, rack of lamb?
Is it possible to learn this power? Not from a Jedi.
I feel so helpless.
You are the chosen one!
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. On Thursday, we are reviewing The Nutty Professor, which is Victor's pick, the first pick of May that we're doing. And then on Tuesday, we're continuing our Star Wars coverage with Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. Yes, we're down 5 movies, but ladies and gentlemen, we're only halfway there. We still got 6 more to go. Tonight, though, is Star Wars Attack of the Clones. I am the executive consultant. Up there is the arrogant Skywalker as well as Mace. Please make sure you like, love, and share to all of your timelines and groups. And make sure if you have not done so already, subscribe to our new YouTube channel, Strictly for Entertainment at UPRE. Final thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Arrogant Skywalker, you are up.
Okay, well, clearly this was just the second story to the big first chapter, because more than anything, like the name says, this was all about arrogant Skywalker. This was all about how Anakin is pretty much just growing into Darth Vader. And wow, I'm very, very excited to see the next movie, because this, I mean, I don't know if one thing that I'm curious about is how people felt when this movie came out. I'm very curious to see how this was received, because I'm in a position where I can't wait to see the next one, and I have access to that, right? So I'm very curious to see how people felt when they didn't have access to that, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because now it's kind of the feeling that I have is like, all right, I want to watch the next episode. Kind of like if I was sitting here watching, just binging on something on Netflix. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's how I feel right now. Like, I just want to see the next movie and continue the story, because I like the story. I thought it was good, and but at the same time, I'm very curious to see how it was received when it came out, because there's just a lot to say here with everything that happened. And mind you, the fight scenes were awesome because it's the first time that they could do that. So I'm assuming that a lot of people were mainly focused on that. I am, instead of the story, but I like the story too. Like, it's pretty cool. I'm very, very interested in seeing more. And today I changed my name, but I still have regrets, because I wish I did this at the time. But obviously, thumbs up.
Okay. Well, let me say, I saw this too in theaters back when I was in college. And to answer Vic's question, at least there, the consensus was that it was a step up, obviously, above Phantom Menace, not to sound like I'm parroting what I said previously. But it had its moments, and particularly, again, as Chris illustrated with Hayden Christensen, and also Natalie Portman, as they said, she was very stiff in some of her portrayals. Chrissy is elated somewhere for me saying that. But they did go ecstatic when they saw Yoda fight for the first time, because, again, we had never seen that. They did go ecstatic when Anakin picked up the 2 sabers and fought with that, because we hadn't seen a Jedi fight with 2 sabers. Ooh. And people did love that Mace Windu had a purple lightsaber, because nobody else in Star Wars canon, I don't know now in the ancillary materials, but no one on screen ever had a purple lightsaber before. Now, the backstory behind that is Samuel Jackson goes to George Lucas and he says, listen, is it possible that I can get a purple lightsaber? And he's like, why? And he said, because when we fight and you see all the Jedi, I want to be able to see where I am in the battle. So George says, okay. And the in-canon version is the in-canon reason is supposed to be because Mace Windu is second only to Yoda, right, as far as skill and everything like that. And I'll get more into this explanation in episode 3 when after you watch that. But his fighting style is a mixture of the dark side and the light. And so that's the in canon reason why his crystal is purple and it glows purple like that. As for me, again, as I said, the second time around, well, this is not the second, this is whatever 10th time that I've seen this movie or jumped there about. It's not a movie that I watch all the way through. That's next week. That one I'll watch all the way through. I enjoy that one thoroughly. Like Phantom Menace, I'll skip through different scenes. I like, when they're on Naboo and here comes Darth Maul, dun, dun, Duel of the Fates. This one, I like when they're on Geonosis. I like when Obi-Wan is tracking Jango Fett and they use the sonar wave blast and everything like that. It just looks incredible to me. It's so cool. And if I was a kid, I would have loved it even more, right? I love the nighttime chase of that bounty hunter, throughout Coruscant. Really, really like that. I like that we see more of the council and the interaction with Palpatine and how he's playing the whole game, like as a master chess player, right? It's really, really great. But the problem with this movie, and it comes down to how I open this episode, is, and my views and actions are not the commentary of the executive consultant, but I think this for Anakin would have solved a lot of problems, because there's a scene in this movie when he first sees Padme. I said, is somebody going to have to force restrain him? He looked like he was about to jump her. And I was scared for Natalie Portman because she was so stiff she couldn't run away. But like, pull back, Annie, pull back, relax. You're supposed to be a Jedi, according to what Unpopular Review said. Anyway, this movie gets a thumbs up. I gave Phantom Menace a thumbs up. It's better than that. So thumbs up for me.
All right, this movie cost $115 million to make. It made $653 million worldwide. Got a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb.com. This movie, as Vic said so eloquently earlier, was able to do a lot of things they weren't able to do. That's one thing I would say about Star Wars. That's why they give a nice little gap there between their movies when they have the little threequel movies, is they're able to do more in the next movie than they were the prior movie, because they give that gap where they're able to evolve some things. So when you saw that fight scene when Mace Windu came out and all the Jedi came out with their Jedi lightsabers and everything, that was not something they were able to do previously in movies. So it looked so cool. Now we probably will take it for granted. But at the time, when you go see that movie, imagine the goosebumps. That was almost on a level of opening all the circles in Avengers Endgame.
Yep.
That's the kind of level it was on at that time. Like, oh crap, something's about to go down. Yoda fighting added onto it, because you never thought you would see that, and then you actually see Yoda fighting. Even the dual lightsabers that Hayden Christensen had, we had Anakin, when he grabbed both lightsabers, and I remember because I was in the crowd, and they were all clapping the chair. Oh, yeah. But if you count, he only had it for like 5 seconds when he got the arm.
Yeah, exactly. He hit the switch and then didn't work.
That was it. That was it. So, but you have to understand how it felt when you saw it. And then Yoda creeping in, and then he's fighting. And all he did was this. I've been saying that for years. That's all he did. He's flip up and down, right? But it was Yoda fighting, and even his fight was only 15 seconds. But it's the little things that they added and they were able to do that made it so special. And they put it all in this movie. And of course, Star Wars. What would a Star Wars movie be without some kind of Death Machine, Death Star reference? I had to have it in there. Count Dooku played his role very well. Everybody played his role very well. This movie gets a thumbs up for me. Vic, take us home.
All right. It looks like a thumbs up across the board. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us once again on another edition of Unpopular Views Entertainment. Stay tuned and stay ready, because we'll have a lot more soon. Thanks again, and have a great night.